everyone, and welcome back to Algebra 2. I'm Mrs. Stillwell, and I'll be covering our lesson for today. Please remember the rules of note-taking. If you see it on your screen, you should be writing it in your notes. Some of you printed the notes out ahead of time, which will allow you to just watch the video and work through the examples. Feel free to add things in your own words so that they're easier to study later on. Don't forget to hit pause and replay as often as you need to. This is especially true during the examples and the you-try problems. Okay, here we go. Today we will be tackling Chapter 9, Trigonometric Ratios and Functions, Section 2, Angles and Radian Measure, Part A. Our learning target, I forgot to write that down, my bad. We will add that a little bit later. Vocabulary and concepts. Drawing angles in standard position. A couple of words that you need to know with that. Standard position means it needs to start right here on the positive side of the x-axis. Always they start there. This is called its initial side. Positive angles go upward. Negative angles go downward. And wherever your angle stops, that is called the terminal side. Again, positive angles go up, which is counterclockwise, backwards on the clock. Negative angles go down, which would be clockwise, but they have to start from the initial side. The initial side in standard position is always this spot right here. Please remember each quadrant is 90 degrees. Next thing we want to talk about as far as important concepts are the coterminal angles. Coterminal angles means that they share the exact same terminal side. So, for example, up here, we can get to this terminal side going in this direction, but we could also get to that terminal side by going backwards. So those would be called coterminal angles. They're very, very easy to find. All you have to do is add 360 to the degrees or subtract 360, and you can do that as many times as you want to. So add 360, there's a coterminal angle. Add 360 again, there's another coterminal angle. Add a third one, there's a third coterminal angle. The same with subtracting 360. And the last thing that we want to talk about are radians. Now, radians are going to sound strange, but they're just another way to measure an angle. You're used to degrees, so 1 radian is about 57.3 degrees. Another way to write that is 180 degrees divided by pi. Remember, pi is 3.14, so 180 divided by a little bit more than 3 is going to give you 57.3. 180 degrees is equal to exactly pi radians. They're going to take you a little while to get used to because you've spent your whole life doing degrees, but for right now, very simple rules to follow, and they are: if you want to convert degrees into radians, you just multiply your degrees by pi over 180. If you want to change radians to degrees, you just multiply your radians by 180 over pi. Please notice that these are inverses of each other, and they show you the relationship between 180 degrees and pi radians. Here we have it, and here we have it again. You will definitely know if you've got these upside down because you'll have pi's, too many of them, or you'll have degrees, too many of them. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about here in just 1 minute. Okay, those are our concepts and our vocabulary for right now. And let's go to our examples. These are going to be fairly simple. I'm hoping that this will be a good way to dive into trig. I know that trig is always a very scary sounding thing for people. Okay, we are going to draw our angle in standard position. Remember, standard position has to start in the center, and it starts on this side. It doesn't really matter where you start. It's just someplace on this side of the x-axis. 500 degrees, that's positive, which means it's going to go up. So there's 90. There's 180. There's 270. And there's 360 that we've used up so far. So we started with 500. And we've gone around one entire circle, which is 360. That leaves us with 140 more. So I've got 90, And that leaves me with 50 degrees. 50 degrees is a little bit more than halfway. So my terminal side is coming always from the center, and that is my angle. Make sure you draw your little arrow here so we know which way you went. You went up around one time and then 140 degrees more. Okay, let's try the same thing with a negative angle, negative 50. So you start always on your initial side. Negative 50 is down, and again, 50 is a little bit more than halfway. So we go a little bit more than halfway, and there is our angle. Make sure you draw your terminal side. Very simple. So that is negative 50 degrees, and this one all the way around and then around some more is 500 degrees. Okay, as always, it is time for you to try. So please go ahead with your you try right there. Graph 240 degrees. Go ahead and give it a shot. When you are done, after pausing this and doing the problem, come on back and we'll do it together. Okay, welcome back. Here we go with our initial side. This is a positive, so I'm going to go up. There's 90. There's 180. So I started with 240 and I've used up 180. That leaves me with 60. 60 is 2/3 of the way around, so that leaves me right about there. And I've got my 240 degrees. Please remember, this is the angle that we're talking about. Initial side, terminal side, and here's the angle. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is how to find coterminal angles. And as I showed you before, very, very simple. All you have to do is take what you're given, in this case a negative 45, and add 360. And when you do that, you get 315 degrees. There's one. Now if I add 360 again, I'm going to get another positive angle. This says one negative and one positive, so I need a negative one, which means I'm going to go subtracting 360 degrees. And again, when you do that, you're going to get negative 405 degrees. One positive, one negative. Okay, we'll do another one, 370. Now please notice 370 is an awfully big number, which means if I subtract my 360 degrees to that, I get 10 degrees, which is positive. I don't have to keep going. I'm going to start with the 10 degrees, and I'm going to take 360 more to get another negative. And there we have negative 350 degrees. Please notice, here, I added 360 and got a positive. I subtracted 360 to get a negative. Here, if I had added 360, I would have gotten another positive, which would have been okay. But I also noticed that if I subtracted 360, I got a positive. And I could subtract 360 again and get a negative and be happy. Please remember, you guys, there are multiple ways of, there are multiple answers here. These are only two of them. Okay, as always, if you would please write down the you try, go ahead and do the problem, pause, and then come back. Please do not just wait for me to do it. Try it yourself, and then come back and we'll see how you did. Okay, welcome back. And we have a negative 100, so I'm going to add 360 to that. And I will get 260 degrees, which is a positive. And if I take the negative 100 and subtract 360 from that, I will get a negative 460. Now some of you might have said, oh wait, I took the 260 and subtracted 360 from it. But please notice what you get. You get negative 100, which is where you started. So you wanted to add the 360 and subtract the 360. Okay, the last thing that we're covering today is converting between degrees and radians. Remember, very, very straightforward. If it's a degree, you simply multiply it by pi over 180, and then you reduce. Now what I mean by reducing is this is 200 pi over 180. I can divide out a 10 and get 20 pi over 18. And then I can divide out at 2, and I will get 10 pi over 9. That means that 200 degrees is exactly the same as 10 pi over 9. It's kind of like English and metric units. 1 meter is about 1 yard. We just have different ways of talking about them. Okay, going over to this one. We have radians. And to change radians into degrees, we do the reverse process, the inverse actually process. We multiply by that. Now, some people like to multiply the 4 times 180 and then reduce. I'm a big fan of canceling. The pi's will cancel each other. 3 goes into 18 6 times. So I've got a negative 4 here and a 60 right there, which multiplies to be negative 240. And there we have our degrees. The reducing is very important. Remember, if you need help, just go ahead and use your calculator. Okay, last problems we're going to be doing. Those are your U-tries. Please go ahead and write those down. Do the problems, do your very best on them, and then come back when you're ready. Okay, welcome back. Here we are with our last 2 problems. Negative 125 is degrees, so multiplying it by pi over 180. I will have negative 125 pi over 180, and I'm going to divide a 5 out of both of those. So if I divide a 5 out of that first one, I get this, and if I divide a 5 into that, I get, let's see, that. Nothing that will both go into 25 and 36, so I am finished. Negative 125 degrees is the same as negative 25 pi over 36. Okay, second one I asked you to do, 7 pi over 4, and we do the inverse of that. Now please remember, if I got this thing upside down, I'd end up with 2 pi's on the top, so I would know that I made a mistake. And let's do some canceling. The pi's cancel each other out. And 4 goes into 180 45 times. Again, use your calculator. That's absolutely fine. And what I'm going to end up having left is 315 degrees. 7 pi over 4 is exactly 315 degrees. Okay, we covered 3 topics. The first one was drawing an angle in standard position. Second one was being able to find coterminal angles. And the last one we covered was talking about converting between radians and degrees and back again. If you have trouble with any of these issues, please make sure to let your regular Algebra 2 teacher know during class or during the Tuesday, Thursday from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock tutorial sessions. Thanks for listening. I hope you understood, and have a great day. Bye-bye.